My sister got rich and forgot who we were. The cracks started showing that humid July afternoon when she came home from her first Manhattan internship, wearing sunglasses that cost more than our rent. I was sprawled on the couch watching baseball reruns in the same sweatpants I'd worn for 3 days straight, just like always. But when she walked in, her nose wrinkled like she'd caught a whiff of something rotten. "Jesus, don't you ever open windows in here?" she asked, her manicured fingers already reaching to adjust our thermostat like she owned the place. Mom hovered by the stove like a nervous ghost, stirring her famous beef stew, even though we all knew my sister wouldn't eat it. Not with her new clean eating regimen that apparently included $5 bottles of alkaline water. Dad tried to make conversation about her commute, but every question got shorter answers until she was just nodding along while texting someone named Blair with 2 eyes. I watched her pick at the loose thread on our couch. The same one we'd pretended was a snake when we were kids during that summer the AC broke, and saw the exact moment she decided our furniture was beneath her, her face doing that thing rich people do when they're trying not to look disgusted, like they've smelled garbage but are too polite to mention it. When dinner finally happened, she arranged her food like a color-coordinated Instagram post. While Mom's hopeful smile slowly died, Dad asked about her roommate and she launched into this rehearsed speech about synergistic living spaces and elevated lifestyles, words that sounded fancy but meant nothing. I kept waiting for her to slip up, to steal one of my roles like she always did, or make that stupid snorting laugh when Dad told his terrible puns. But she just dabbed her lips with a napkin after each tiny bite, her phone screen lighting up every 30 seconds with notifications from people whose last names were probably Roman numerals. Later, when I caught her wiping down the chair before sitting, something inside me snapped. "What, you too good for our germs now?" I asked, and the way she froze told me everything. That night I heard her on the phone in our old room saying, "God, yes, everything here smells like failure," in that new laugh of hers. The one that sounded like ice cubes clinking in an empty glass. Mom found me smoking on the fire escape at 3 a.m., both of us pretending we didn't hear my sister crying in the shower. Whether from guilt or relief at leaving tomorrow, I still don't know. The Christmas everything broke wasn't even snowy, just that depressing gray slush that turned sidewalk cracks into filthy rivers. She'd promised to come for dinner but texted last minute about some can't-miss networking event. So Mom and Dad and I ate in silence until the doorbell rang at 9 p.m. Some delivery guy holding a ridiculously overpriced charcuterie board that looked like a geometry project. "Season's greetings." The note read, like we were clients instead of family. Dad got that quiet look he gets before saying something that'll haunt him later. Mom just kept rearranging the fancy meats no one would eat. I got drunk on cheap eggnog and dug out our old home videos, projecting them onto the wall while Mom pretended not to cry at the sight of 7-year-old my sister wearing a tablecloth as a cape, declaring she'd be the world's greatest designer. The next morning I woke up to 12 missed calls. She'd been in some VIP hospital wing after collapsing at a club. Dehydration, the doctor said. But we all knew it was the Adderall and green juice diet she'd been bragging about. When we showed up, her famous new friends evaporated like they'd been holograms, leaving just us and the beeping machines. For one heartbeat when she first saw us, her face did something real. This raw, terrified look that reminded me of when she'd wake from nightmares as a kid. But then her publicist arrived and the mask slammed back down. "I'm fine," she told the room, not looking at any of us. "Just needed some 4 nutrients." Like her body was some luxury car that needed premium fuel. Mom reached to brush her hair back and she actually flinched. The ride home was the quietest 3 hours of my life. Dad gripping the wheel like he wanted to break it. Mom staring at her phone screen where my sister's latest post, a perfectly filtered hospital selfie with #wellnessjourney, was already getting thousands of likes. That night, I found Dad in the garage holding the dollhouse he'd spent a year building for her 10th birthday, his calloused fingers tracing the tiny shingles he'd cut by hand. Neither of us mentioned how she'd donated it to Goodwill the second she discovered Pottery Barn Teen, but the way he carefully placed it back in the corner told me everything. When I checked her Instagram the next day, there was already a new post. Her in designer pajamas, smiling like nothing happened. The caption about learning life lessons while tagging.
Detox Tea Company, I commented. Glad you're okay, sis, just to see if she'd respond. She deleted it within minutes. The last time I tried was her 25th birthday when I stupidly thought showing up unannounced with her favorite childhood cake might spark something. Her doorman almost didn't let me up. Apparently, I'm her brother didn't mean much in that world of keycards and security protocols. When she opened the door in that obscenely expensive silk robe, her face did this awful dance between shock and annoyance before settling on polite hostess. Her apartment smelled like lemons and regret, everything white and angular like a magazine spread where no actual humans lived. I held out the lopsided funfetti cake, the same kind Mom used to make when we couldn't afford bakery stuff, and watched her expression curdle. "That's so sweet," she said in that voice rich people use when they're being condescending, taking the cake like it might give her a disease. Her phone buzzed constantly as she accidentally showed me her packed schedule. Every minute accounted for between SoulCycle and some gala where the right people would be. When I asked if we could at least have coffee, she sighed like I'd asked for a kidney. "I'm in this really crucial growth phase right now," she said, as if family was some optional app draining her battery. That's when I noticed it. Our childhood photo, the one where we're covered in mud and grinning like idiots, framed but tucked behind some coffee table book about mindfulness, like she wanted it nearby but couldn't risk anyone seeing. I pointed and her cheeks actually pinked. "Nostalgia is toxic, you know," she said, adjusting the frame so it faced the wall. "We have to make space for new energy," which was rich coming from someone whose walk-in closet looked like a department store. I left when her assistant arrived with a dress for that night's event, some shimmering thing that probably cost more than Dad made in a month. The elevator ride down felt like descending through layers of who she used to be, each floor another memory peeling away. Her teaching me to dance in our socks when we were kids, the way she'd sneak Pop-Tarts into my backpack when Mom was on a health kick, how she'd cried when I got suspended for punching the kid who made fun of her homemade prom dress. By the time I hit the lobby, I was almost relieved when the doorman didn't recognize me on my way out. Now when Mom forwards her latest inspirational interview where my sister talks about hustle culture and minimalist living while posing in a $10,000 outfit, I don't even get angry anymore. Dad stopped pretending to care, though I still catch him staring at her senior photo sometimes when he thinks no one's looking. Mom keeps sending care packages full of the cookies she used to love, even though they always come back unopened with "return to sender" scrawled in some assistant's handwriting. I tried stalking her once, not in a creepy way, just typing her name into search bars late at night when the loneliness got too loud, and found this podcast where she talked about reinventing yourself, how family can be energy vampires if they don't align with your frequency. The host laughed when she joked about our adorably outdated holiday traditions, like the way Mom still uses the same chipped Santa mug from 1999. That night, I dreamt we were kids again, building blanket forts and swearing we'd live next door to each other forever. I woke up with my face wet and checked my phone to see she'd posted a sunrise yoga pic captioned, "Shedding the old to welcome the new." Her wrists were stacked with those thin gold bracelets that probably cost more than my car, but what killed me was the background. She'd photoshopped out the mole above her eyebrow, the same one I used to tease her about when we were little, like even her own face wasn't good enough anymore. Last month, Mom got hospitalized with pneumonia and my sister sent flowers so extravagant they didn't even fit in the room. The card just said, "Get well soon." With a smiley face like Mom was some distant acquaintance, when the nurse asked if she'd be visiting, Mom's "she's very busy" sounded so practiced it broke something in me. I drove to my sister's building that night, not to confront her but just to sit in my car staring at her lit-up windows, wondering which version of her was real. The girl who held my hand during thunderstorms, or this polished stranger who edited out her own imperfections. At 2 a.m. her lights finally went out, and it hit me that I'd been waiting 17 stories below for a sign that no longer existed. These days I find her in the quietest moments, when I catch myself humming that stupid boy band song we used to scream along to, when I automatically save the fashion pages from the Sunday paper even though no one here cares about them anymore. Mom still keeps her room ready like some museum exhibit, the bed made with the quilt Grandma stitched from our baby clothes, the walls still plastered with those early designs she used to be so proud of. Sometimes I sit there tracing the pencil marks where she measured my shoulders for her first collection, wondering if she ever misses the thrill of creating something just because it made her happy, not because it might get likes. Last week I found Dad in the garage building another dollhouse, not for anyone, just because the work soothes him. When I asked why, he said, "Sometimes things are worth making even if nobody wants them." And we both pretended not to know what he really meant. The truth is, I don't miss who she became. I miss who she was before the world convinced her she needed to be more. Before authenticity became just another aesthetic to curate. Before our love became something she had to hide like an embarrassing tattoo. I used to think wealth would change her in obvious ways. Private jets, designer bags, the usual crap. But nobody warns you about the small things. The way she stopped calling Mom on Sundays, how she started pronouncing water like some waspy boarding school kid. The way her laugh became this performative thing she did on cue rather than the snorting giggle that used to make milk come out my nose. People talk about money changing you like it's some dramatic transformation, but it's not. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts, each one so small you don't notice the bleeding until it's too late. What kills me isn't that she left us behind, but that she did it so completely that now when we pass each other on the street, because yes, that's happened, her eyes slide right over me like I'm furniture. Like those 23 years we shared might as well have never happened, Mom says. She'll come back to herself someday, but I know better. The sister I grew up with doesn't exist anymore. She's been overwritten like some old VHS tape, recorded over with this shiny new version that has her face but none of her heart. And the worst part? I don't even think she misses what she lost, because in her mind, she didn't lose anything. She upgraded.